Hello and welcome to Casual Magic. It's Eldritch Moon pre-release results. It was rough. It was rough to say the least. Out of the stuff that I drew, Gießen Gralf, Spell Queller, Declaration in Stone, which was basically an almost automatic include, Deathcap Cultivator, and for my promo, Summary Dismissal. I didn't really have any zombies, so that wasn't going to work. White just really didn't have enough to go with it. I mean, it had a little bit of removal, but just not really enough creatures to support it, so I just ended up passing on it. Green was kind of okay. It was a second choice, but in the end I just decided to leave it out and just stick with two colors. And as much as I wanted this, in the end I just decided to leave it out because it doesn't necessarily seem like that amazing of a counterspell in limited, as opposed to just another spell that I used. I think this will be more fun in Commander, especially when the stack gets totally huge, to just basically play this and go, nope, turns over. Now granted, one of my friends, he got Liliana, but I don't want to talk about that. So separately, there's the stack of cards that I had the option of using and declined. Real quick before I get to my cards though, I just want to ask, did anyone else have any cards with any weird printing issues? Can you see how the Shreds of Sanity is this weird, like, extra dark red printing on it? I had some black cards and quite a few red cards that are all like that, where they just, I don't know, they just turned out weird. It's almost a misprint, maybe, but it just looks, you can even see on the edge there just how weirdly red it is. So, I don't know. I'll probably end up sending them back to Wizards. Alright, moving on. What did I eventually just give up and decide to do? Red and blue. Just stuck with two colors. Didn't really have a choice. As far as rares, Gyre Reach Sanitarium. Just that way, in case I got stuck with crappy cards, at least I could start getting other cards. Two Handwear Garrisons. They're the meld cards, but I don't have the other half to meld into a better card, but at least when it attacks I got two 1/1 human tokens, so at least I could flood the board. Stromkirk Cultist. It was kind of good. I really only got to use it once, where I could start exiling the top card, and in that case it was usually like, okay, come on, let's hope for a land. Alright, free land, and go ahead and put that into play. So they were okay, and I just figured since that kind of had the strongest colors as far as rares went, I just thought, okay, that's a positive start. At least I can go with some red. As far as uncommons, Abandoned Reason, good way to get two creatures first strike, definitely used it a lot. Dissension in the ranks, get two blocking creatures to attack each other. I ended up only using this once, but it was still pretty fun to use. Then going through commons, Bold Impaler was a good one just to get pumped. Brazen Wolves, which as long as you're attacking with it, it's a 4/3. Distemper and Blood, good way to just pump something beforehand. Ember-Eye Wolf creature, you can pump him. Galvanic Bombardment, luckily I was able to get two. So in this case, it basically means I'm spending one red for two, and if I've got one in my graveyard, then the next one is one red for three, so it's a lightning bolt. It was good. I definitely got it out of my graveyard more than once, if the situation called for it, and it's a useful card. Hulking Devil, just to get a big 5/2 out. Otherworldly Outburst, excellent. That way you can just cast it as an instant, get a creature that you know is going to die, and get a 3/2 Eldrazi token out of it. Plus it's also nice in those rare situations you go, okay, well this guy, you know, he's blocking my 3/3 with his 4/4, and then I can get the +1, kill it, and then I can still get a token out of the deal. So it was definitely useful. And then 2 of the Vilden Pack Outcasts, which transforms. And the cool thing about transforming is I can declare this as an attacker, it can be blocked, and then I can spend the mana to transform it, which is extra cool because in this case he's got trample, but then you can spend colorless mana and it gets +1/+0 until end of turn. So if you've already got the 7 to make it transform, then that means the next turn, if it's not dead yet, you can just pump him up all the way, and then he's a 12/7 with trample. So definitely kind of the bomb, I guess, as far as a big butt creature. It's a common, but again, I just went creature heavy and hope for the best. Curious Homunculus, it's good. If you can transform, you can get the instants and sorceries 1 of any mana cheaper. It was okay. I don't think I ever got to flip him though, and I only got to use him once. But at least people used a kill spell on him, so at least they saw him as a threat. So in a way, that kind of worked out as a decoy for me. Nibelgast Herald. At least when it comes in, tap an opponent creature and it's a flyer and it can flash it. Vexing Scuttler, Emerge, great mechanic. Especially for a deck like this where I've got a lot of 4 mana creatures, to be able to then just get this out the next turn and or get rid of something small that's reasonably just kind of out of its league. Like I've got the little 1/2 guy. That late game, he's just basically sitting there doing nothing. But I can sacrifice him and use mana to replace him with something better. This one, however, extra good. When you cast Vexing Scuttler, you may return target instant or sorcery card from your graveyard to your hand. And boy, did I use that. I got instants and sorceries out of my graveyard almost every game. And that was huge, being able to kind of double dip on some of my spells. As far as blue commons, Convolute for my 1 counter spell, unless they pay 4, which I think all but one time it worked, and the one time that I did use it, it was something that he really wanted to get out, and I just basically made him tap out, that way he couldn't counter me in the next turn when I could go. Displace, exile up to 2 target creatures. I'll get to that in a second. Enlightened Maniac. So when it comes into play, you put a 3/2 colorless Eldrazi Horde token creature onto the battlefield. So one of the fun tricks that I did with this was I could use this as a blocker along with something else that I knew might not necessarily make it. Then I could play Displace. They would both come up and then go back into play. Because the attackers were assigned blockers that were no longer there, they basically swung at nothing and did no damage. Plus, when the Enlightened Maniac came back into play, I got another 3/2 Eldrazi token. So this fun little combat trick. I had some fun with it. Silent Observer, just get a flyer. Sleep Paralysis, huge card. This, being able to lock down Gisela, who's just a completely overpowered flyer, was like, okay, Gisela's out. All right, boom, lock it down. It is now worthless. And I don't even know how many times I used this card. Nearly every match I got this card and used it on something huge. This is an excellent common. And Wretched Griff, again, it's got Emerge. Foil. When it comes out, draw a card, and it's got flying. So it's alright. So that's more or less what I decided to run with. it really took me the entire hour to kind of go through and figure out everything, because my cards were just so disappointing. I wasn't really sure what to do. But in the end, this is the deck that I went with. First game, just basically went toe-to-toe with the guy, and he was running 3-color, white, black, and green, and I went after him mainly with enchantments to tie up his big stuff. He was using his white enchantments to lock down my stuff, and luckily on the third match, then he just kind of got mana screwed and couldn't get that third color out, and I pulled through and won. Second guy, he was also running 3 colors, and for whatever reason, I just blew through him so fast because he just seemed to be mana dependent, and I don't know if he just had a lot of cards that needed 2 of a certain color and he was only getting 1, but yeah, I just blew through him 2-0. Third guy, wow, he had the God box, I'll put it that way. Somehow, he just basically, manhandled me. I mean, he came out, he had all of the awesome creatures. I could lock down one, maybe bounce something, but it just didn't matter. He just kept coming and kept coming. And when I got done, I was like, just out of curiosity, can I see your deck? And he's like, oh yeah, but before I do that, here, let me show you this, because you didn't see these. So he also showed me Nahiri's Wrath that he never got out. He showed me Emrakul that he never got out. Gisela I was able to lock down twice, and that didn't even include a bunch of the rares that he had in his deck. I mean, he just had everything to make this just awesome deck, and everything was just perfectly color aligned for his pack. I was like, oh, then you've got the God box. Clearly, you're going to win the day. He's like, yeah, pretty much I opened this up, and I was like, okay, this is my best pre-release box ever. It's like, well, yeah, you're basically showing us the ropes. Well, good luck in the next round, buddy. And then the fourth match, then I went and just basically used kind of the same strategy, a lot of burn spells, locking down creatures. The guy finally got Tamiyo out, and I knew he was going to get Tamiyo at some point, and I was hanging on to my counterspell for a while, and eventually he got out something else, and he basically baited me, so he put out something huge and kept back Tamiyo, and that way I didn't have a choice, and I had to counter the big creature, and then the next turn, sure enough, Tamiyo comes out. I'm just like, oh my god, crap. But then he went ahead and he attacked me, and he didn't leave any defenders, so next turn, with all my little crappy red pump dudes, immediately I just swung everything at Tamiyo. He didn't have any blockers for it, and I pumped him, and boom, Tamiyo was gone after one turn and locking down one creature. So after that threat was neutralized, he didn't necessarily have that much of a game plan, and I ended up winning in 3. So in the end, that was 2-1, 2-0, 0-2, 2-1. I went 3-1 for the day, and somehow finished 3rd. I don't know how that works. That's actually the best pre-release that I've ever done. That's probably the best Magic event that I've ever done. I usually am in the middle somewhere, but never 3rd. Ever. So I just have to say it was a lot of luck, and really just coming through with my strategy of how am I going to win this with my commons and uncommons, because there are no bombs for me. I just have to get all these little dudes that I can pump up and simple combat tricks, and just hope to grind it out while everyone else is waiting for their one rare card to save the day. Because even for me, for these 3 rare cards, I didn't depend on these. If I had a game without these cards, I could still at least feel like I was somewhat competitive. Were these 2 useful? Yes, absolutely. Was this one useful? Not so much. I really only got to use it in one game where I got to start getting some extra cards from it. But in the end, it was pretty much just trying to build a deck that was primarily commons and uncommons. And I've seen that as a strategy before, saying, you know, if you can't really get anything good, then just go creature heavy and try and limit it to 2 colors and just go for speed. And that's what I did, and somehow it worked. I don't know how, but it did. And I had a lot of fun. It was a lot of fun, and I was shocked. And I absolutely thanked everyone, even the guy that I lost to. You know, I just thanked him for having such a good time. It was a good day, and a very, very enjoyable pre-release. I hope everyone else had as much fun. I don't know if you necessarily did as well, but I hope you got better cards, because as you can see, I didn't necessarily get some great cards. The only thing that was good, at least for my prizes, I won 4 packs for coming in third. I'll probably open up these on a later show. Won't do them just yet. So, yeah, I hope you had great pre-release weekends. And until next time, good luck.
And boom, Tamio was gone after 1 turn.